So I have been making notes every single time that I talk to you guys about concerns that you might have about the area when you've never really visited the area. And so this is going to be the most detailed map tour video I have ever done. I dove in and I put in all the different topics. We're going to be talking about the different bodies of water in the area, the different flood zones in the area, waterfront properties, the difference between waterfront properties, because they are not all the same. We're going to be talking about where you can find newer developments, where you can find acreage properties. I am going to be covering all of that. This is going to be an all-encompassing video, just going over the entire area. And I know you're looking at it like, holy crap, this looks so long. Guys, I promise you this is critical information if this is an area that you do want to call your next home. So let's go and hop over to the map right now and get started. All right, so let's go ahead and start out by talking about the areas that we typically talk about on our channel. And the reason that I say areas is when we're looking at this. So the only cities that we see on this map that are incorporated or not unincorporated is going to be Pensacola right here, Gulf Breeze proper. It's literally just this area right here. And then also Milton. These are literally the only cities that we're going to be talking about. All these other areas are unincorporated portions of the map that we are currently looking at right now, which could be a good thing or could be a bad thing. Some people do love the fact that they have those city amenities being within a city when we're talking about your trash removal, different city services and stuff that is offered through that. But some people are like, you know what, unincorporated, maybe my property taxes are going to be a little bit cheaper. A few different little things that they kind of look at between the two. Just depends on what would work best for you guys, right? So we're looking at this and we see all the different areas. I wanted to go over the distances of each of these. And so the furthest one that we're probably going to be talking about, for the most part, it's a little bit about the same. It's going to be Navarre over here, right? And so when we're talking about Navarre, a lot of you're coming here, you're PCSing, you're in the military, and you're like, all right, if I am going to be working over down here at NAS, how long is it going to take me to get over here, right? And so let's just go ahead and type in first. Now I'm using two different maps here because I like different maps for different reasons. This one's going to be the Apple maps, but let's just look at Navarre. And if we go from Navarre, and we just do directions down to, let's just say Pensacola downtown, right? Navarre to Pensacola, we are looking at a travel time of, you can see right there, 43 minutes. So I'd say tack onto that. With traffic, I'd say it'd probably take a solid hour at most to get all the way down here to NAS, the base that is right here. I'm not going to dive into every single base, but just to kind of give you guys an estimate. All right, cool. So it's going to take me 43 minutes even to get into the downtown of Pensacola from Navarre. The next furthest one is going to be Milton. So let's just go ahead and replace this one right here and throw in Milton. And you can see from there, we're looking at about 35 minutes. So it's going to be a little bit closer than Navarre when we are talking about a travel time from the heart of Milton all the way down into the heart of Pensacola, the downtown area. And then another thing that you might want to know is kind of your travel times when we're talking about getting to the beach. So since this is one of our further ones, how long is it going to take you to get from Milton to the beach? Because many times you guys ask us like, hey, I want to be within like 40 minutes to the beach. So if we are here in Milton, will it be within that 40 minutes to the beach? Well, let's look. So Pensacola Beach, boom. We throw that in there, and then we can see it's about 41 minutes. You're right outside of it, but again, that is the heart of Milton right here. Where technically, I mean, a lot of people who are choosing Milton are choosing closer to this area over closer to Pace because of the amenities. They want to take advantage of the amenities that Pace also offers. So they like this area right up in here. Here's a caveat though. So if we look at this, say you still want to go to the beach and you're living in that heart of Milton, let's look at Navarre Beach. And Navarre Beach, the good thing about that is when we're traveling over there, okay, so it's 39 minutes. For some reason, it didn't do the bridge over here. But okay, so 39 minutes, it's going to be, it looks like a little bit closer going over to the beach by a few minutes. It's about level between the two. But one thing that I did want to mention with this is you have Garcon Bridge right here. This is going to be a toll bridge. I believe it's $2.50 to cross. And majority of the time, because we live down in this midway area, which is technically unincorporated Gulf Breeze, we take this bridge when we are going over to downtown Pensacola, just so that we avoid all the craziness of going up and through here into the downtown Pensacola area, because especially during tourist season, guess what? People are landing here and they're either going to all their hotels and such to Pensacola Beach right here, or they're finding a place to stay up here in Pensacola and then driving down, which makes this area, this bridge right here, much more congested, the 3 Mile Bridge, when we are talking about traffic of going from either this direction or then also this direction right here. Another fun thing that I wanted to do is we always talk about Beulah. So Beulah is a new up and coming area. Let me just kind of show you. So if we go on the map right here, this is Beulah right here. And actually, you know what? I'm going to make this, let's do this. Let's do a satellite, so you can kind of see the development that is happening up in Beulah. So the brand new Navy Federal, when we are talking about that, is going to be located right over here. This is that brand new center. If you want to know a little bit more about Beulah, I did do a walking tour through it. That we could check it out, kind of see what it looks like from the ground. But this is that brand new center. And actually, let's do something fun here. So this is why I'm switching in between two different maps. So let's go back to this Beulah area. And then we could kind of show you guys, let's see, get my bearings once again. So Navy Federal right there. This is that area that I kind of already walked through. Let's grab our little guy right here. And this cracks me up because you never know where it's going to drop him at. This is that new center that the Navy Federal has, that kind of rec center over there. It is open to the public. It does have certain hours. But you can see how the Navy Federal, the brand new facility, is right here. And then that new rec center with all the fields, the different activities that they have over there is all going to be right over in here. Let's see. I don't know if it's gonna. That's the problem, is when you do these walkthroughs like this, you're really not sure what you're gonna get. It's not gonna show us much. Let's try this. Let's see if it'll actually drop me. Because let's see, there's our Navy Federal right there. So it's over here, but for some reason it's dropping me right next to. Let's do this. I'm gonna just drop my guy on 9 Mile Road right here. See what we're looking at. And then again, it drops me in the middle of nowhere. All right, screw that. All right, let's just, all right, so that we were looking at that Navy Federal. Fine, cool, that's where it is. And that's a big reason why this Beulah area is kind of blowing up right here. Let's go back to our satellite. So you got the Navy Federal. Look at all this housing that is kind of, and this is all brand new housing right here that is by D.R. Horton. Actually, where's this is the new D.R. Horton facility right over here. But you can see all this housing that kind of stems right across the street just south of the brand new Navy Federal up here. And then all this development right here, they just got a brand new Wawa. So let's see, where's the McDonald's Publix? So the Wawa's right there. But you see all this development. And then if you look a little further north from this, you can see the Cantonment area is a little bit further north. Let's see if we can get it to show when we go out. This is why I use different maps, because some of them will show these different things and some of them won't. So if we go back to this map right here, I'm sure it's going to show it. So Cantonment, so right here is going to be your Cantonment area. All right, cool. So we kind of went over the areas, just kind of what we're looking at. What I told you though is if you are up in that Beulah area, what is it going to take in order for you to get to the beach? Got a little bit off topic there. Beulah. Let's just go to Pensacola Beach. And I know we're saying from Pensacola Beach. I mean, typically when this happens, it's just a couple of minutes off. So you're looking at, from the Beulah area, you're looking at 33 minutes. So that is even going to be a shorter drive as compared to Milton when we're talking about driving down to the beach from Beulah. All right, now let's go ahead. What I want to do is go over these waterways. And this is actually, let me go back to this map right here so it's a little bit more user friendly. All right, now let's discuss these bodies of water that you are going to kind of see in the area. And then after I kind of go over the bodies of water, where they're located, I'm going to kind of dig it a little bit into the different types of waterfront properties, because everyone right off the bat, they're like, it's right off the Gulf of America. That's your waterfront property. Not so. And there is some different living too, based on these different waterfront living styles that we're looking at. So zoom in a little bit closer here, we could kind of look. So we've got the bays all right here. You got Pensacola Bay, Escambia Bay, East Bay. I believe this up here is called Blackwater Bay. And then also if we go over to Perdido over here, the Perdido Key area, where is it? It's not going to show. This is like Perdido. Yep. So Perdido Bay is right over here, right before the Alabama-Florida state line. So those are going to be your main bodies of water. Here's one that majority of you guys don't know about, is the Sound, the waterway. This is going to be the Sound right here. And so this is pretty much, you have all waterfront living on here as well too, or you could have it here, back here. So when we are talking about your waterfront living with the different bodies of water, you could also have a bayou, which is right here, right next to East Hill. So that is a different style. This is going to be a bayou right here. So in this East Hill portion, you also kind of have some waterfront living. That's the majority of the bodies of water you're going to see. Then of course you have the Gulf of America all right here. Now let's dive into the different waterfront properties that we are looking at. I'm going to dive in to see, I'll show you the areas and we'll do some great map tours of it, but then I'm also going to go into the MLS and show you how much difference there is in the price points depending on what body of water you actually want to live on or what kind of waterfront living you want. So let's go ahead, and I am going to go to this one because this one's a little bit easier to kind of see. Plus, for some reason, it seems like you can zoom in a lot better and do the whole 3D thing on this one. So let's go ahead and zoom out. Now, waterfront living. If we look right here, I want you to notice something. So we are on the Gulf of America right here. I'm going to make this 3D so you can kind of see a little bit better. One thing that you notice, especially with a lot of this waterfront living, you can see all this housing right here. There is no piers. Zero piers out here, right? So the majority of this waterfront living is mainly going to be for just living on the Gulf of America. But if you want to get your boat out, not so much so you're probably still going to have to store your boat somewhere. Or if we go on the back side on the Sound, look at this. This is where we see a lot of those piers, boat docks on the back of this. So if you own a boat and you want to have a boat at your property, you're most likely going to want to be on the Sound and or either the Bay as well too. The Bay also has it, but you can see how this backside of Pensacola Beach is what we're looking at. You can see all these different piers coming off. I'm going a little too fast here. And then if we pop over here to unincorporated Gulf Breeze, same thing. Look at all of these boat ramps coming off these private residences right here. This is going to be OBE, the Oriole Beach boat ramp right here. But outside of that, these are all going to be private boat ramps or your private piers. You can see them all along here. And like I said, we could really get in here and check these out, right? So it's like you got all these great properties and not every single one of them has its own pier. So it just depends on whether or not that's something that you do want to build, but there's some great properties up in here. Let's see if we can check out the Oriole Beach boat ramp. Get my bearings back here. So right here, so you can see the boat ramp. And actually, while we're in here, I really wish that I could do the same things on both of these that I can with like Google Maps and then also Apple Maps. This is the parking lot for the Oriole Beach boat ramp if you are in unincorporated Gulf Breeze. Let's go ahead and check that out though if we are going. Let's check it out from the grounds view over here. So let's see. Should be right there. So let's just go ahead and drop our little guy in right here. Boom. And you can see right here, this is the public boat ramp for this Oriole Beach area. Across the way, this is where you can see that Pensacola Beach out there. And so it's pretty cool. This is a great little launch. The thing about the Sound as compared to the Bay, and then of course the Gulf, is it is much shallower here. When you are out here on a boat, it's more like a lake, I would say, because a lot of times when we have, you know, yellow, red flags out in the Gulf of America, it's much more calm out here. So you see so many more boats that are out here as compared to being out in the Gulf, and then also the Bay. The Bay can also get a lot more rough. So let's go ahead and back up here. Let's go ahead and look over here in the Pensacola area. So Pensacola, the majority of your ramps and stuff like that, let's go back to this one so we can kind of dive in a little bit deeper. Let's go over into East Hill a little bit when we're talking about this waterfront living. So again, like I said, this is on the bayou. So we've got East Hill. If this map will stop jumbling around. East Hill is this going to be this area right up in here. And if we go even further in here, you can see how these houses on the bayou have all these different boat ramps right here. So these are definitely other options if you do want to be able to launch your boat from your house up off of this bayou. And then the bayou then connects down into the bay. So you can see it comes all the way through. You can come out to the bay. And this is your access right here. Okay, so we talked about that type of waterfront living. There's another one that I wanted to mention while we're talking about it. And technically it's not waterfront, but if you do want to have a boat at your house and be able to launch it from your house, another good option is going to be your canal neighborhoods. Now, when we're talking about canal neighborhoods, to be honest with you, really nothing over here when we're talking about Gulf Breeze proper. You can see how they have pretty much similar to like a bayou all up in here. But the canal neighborhoods that I am talking about, majority of them are going to be down the highway in the Oriole Beach area. And so you have Villa Venice. This is pretty much the one that's furthest west in this unincorporated Gulf Breeze area. Right, man, well, I don't know why it's bouncing around like that. So you can see these are canal neighborhoods right here where they literally dredged out these canals all through these neighborhoods. And you can see how all these people have different boats and such. The other one is going to be Santa Rosa Shores on this side. Here's another big one right here. So if you want to be able to launch your boat from your house, you got Santa Rosa Shores over here, another great area when we are talking about that waterfront living. You can see all these people have different boats up in here. I wish I could drop a guy so you can see what it looks like, but I'm sure that I'm going to be dropped in front of a house or something, so you're really not going to see what that looks like. And then on the north side, you have the Polynesian Isles. You can see here's another canal neighborhood right up in here. And this is pretty cool, actually. I'm pretty sure I did a 4-year-old birthday party in one of these houses with the pool right here, and it was super cool because on the back side of it you had the pool and then you had the canal right behind it. Super cool living. But it was awesome. I loved it a lot. But like I said, that's going to be your other option. Okay, so here's something else that I wanted to hit on while we're talking about this. Is we have a lot of people who are moving here who want to take advantage of the fishing in the Gulf, right? So say you are in this area. Here's the hard part. If you want to get out to the Gulf, let's say you're launching from, say one of these canal neighborhoods, you are literally going to have to come all the way up the Sound, through underneath the bridge, past Gulf Breeze, up to here, to the Pensacola Pass right here. All right. So it's like you look at it, it's like, all right, cool. Because this is all the naval, the NAS right up here. You're not going to be getting any housing for the most part up there without being military. But it's like you're going to have to travel all the way over here. So you can see how proper might be a little bit more popular because it's right here. So it seems like the boat ride really isn't that far to kind of go over to the Pensacola Pass over here. But if you're down the highway, if you're coming all the way up from like even up in this Pace area or this northern portion of Pensacola, you're going to have to travel all the way down, waste all that gas to come all the way out to go out to the Gulf. Here's a big reason why Perdido Key is popular. So we go down to Perdido Key. And we actually, a lot of people who are coming here for the fishing, Perdido Key is where they end up choosing. Let's see if I can find it. So what they do is they come all the way down. You can see, actually, let me zoom in here so you can see it. Look at all these houses with their boats right off of, in this little area right here, right off of the waterway. So you can see all these houses. And the thing about it too is you could also get condos in here that do have a boat slip so you can park your boat. But look how easy it is. They have the access right here. So you just come down through here, you go across the Alabama state line, and you can come out right here to also go out to the Gulf. Now, if we're talking about going out to the Gulf from the Pensacola Metro, outside of the Pensacola Pass right here, I mean, you're going to have to next go all the way down to Destin to access this one right here. That is the only other one. Now, I have heard chatter, potential talks about them throwing one in Navarre, and apparently there used to be one in Navarre. Let's see if maybe we could find it. I don't see it anywhere. I've just heard from locals saying that there used to be one in Navarre. I'm not seeing it anywhere from Navarre Beach. But there's talks about potentially putting another one down here just because they're so far apart when you're talking about accessing pretty much the Gulf from these other like neighborhood areas. Now, as we're talking about this, we just talked about the boat access. One concern when we are looking at these different areas and even outside of these areas, say you don't want to live on the water, is going to be flood zones. Majority of the time, and I'm going to show you guys a little hack here soon, how to kind of look up these flood zones. But the main flood zone, the cream of the crop that you want to look for within the Pensacola area is going to be an X. The next best one is going to be X shaded. Majority of the times, I'm not going to speak for insurance companies, is when we're talking about this, insurance companies are going to force you to have a flood policy when we are talking about these areas. So let me go ahead and go to the FEMA map over here. And I'm going to warn you guys right now, this map is super glitchy. I do not like using this map at all. If I zoom out too far, everything gets messed up. But you can kind of see right here. So AE is going to be within a flood zone. And then sometimes you might even run into VE. Let's see if I can find one in here. This is on the bayou right off of East Hill right over here. So you see a zone VE right here. So what zone VE, the best way that I could kind of describe it is outside of risk of flooding, there's also risks of like water coming at you. So like waves and stuff like that during a storm. And that's the difference between a VA. It's a special zone as compared to an AE. But when you're seeing this AE, VE zones, expect your insurance is going to require you to have flood insurance. But if we go outside of that, so just to get our bearings, especially with you guys, this is downtown Pensacola, right? So city of Pensacola right over here. So you see how a lot of it's X shaded. This is X shaded. This orange is going to be X shaded. So like I said, most insurance companies most likely won't require you to have flood insurance when we are talking about this. But then you see these areas, expect the fact that if you are in this lighter blue, most likely it's going to be an AE flood zone. You're going to be required to have flood insurance. And then this is all X unshaded. So this whole portion of Pensacola, there's really no dangers of flooding according to FEMA. Again, this is the FEMA site that we are looking at. Okay, so we're looking at Pensacola. Let's see if I can zoom out a little bit more so we can show a little bit more north. So we got East Hill, East Pensacola Heights right here. This is the airport right here. Let me show you a little bit further north up in Pensacola a little bit. Let's see what kind of flood zones we're hitting up here, which you're looking nothing, right? So majority of the time when we're looking at this, we're looking, and there might be a few little spots right here, you know, these little ravines that come in that you're running into a flood zone, and it's based off of this is coming off the water. So obviously you have that water in there, risk of being within a flood zone. And here's another area I want to talk about with these flood zones, because you guys actually do, I just had one of you talking about this area, this Avalon Point or this Garcon Point area right here. So the Garcon Bridge, this is that toll bridge that I was telling you guys about earlier, right? If we zoom in, what kind of flood zone we're looking at with this area? Boom, look at that. So you have a bunch of X shaded, but look where all the neighborhoods are at. They're all within this flood zone. And so that's something to really be worried about. You could find some great houses up in here, but you're going to be within a flood zone. And then you have your X unshaded. So that's something that we really always look at when we're talking about this Garcon Point area. And then let me zoom out a little bit. I'm going to go up to Milton a little bit so we can see Milton. See this, I do not like this map at all. For some reason, it just decides to turn the entire thing red. So same if we're looking up here, you can see this is all pretty much going to be like mainly your AE flood zones up in here, up in the Milton area. So let's see, where's downtown Milton? That's what I really want to look at. All right, it took me a little bit to find it because it was so small. So if we're talking about like the downtown Milton area, it's going to be up here. What kind of flood zones are we looking at? So you can see this, a lot of this right on the edge right here of the Blackwater River. That's, you know, heavy flood zones right there that we're looking at AEs. You have your X unshaded in this portion of Milton. And if we go a little bit further west towards Pace, we get a lot more. Again, like I said, you'll run into a few of these from time to time that's kind of in the middle of these little wetlands area. All right, so the Pace area, you've got a lot of the different shopping and stores that are available right here running through Pace. No flood zones whatsoever. Let's go ahead and hop down into Gulf Breeze. All right, it took us a little bit to get here. The map decided to glitch out on me. So if we're looking at Gulf Breeze, this is going to be the proper portion of Gulf Breeze, so within city limits. You can kind of see how the flood zones, you see all these houses that are have their boat ramps that kind of are on the bayous that go out to the bay. But outside of that, look at how restricted this is, and there's a reason for that. So you can see how the flood zone literally just dead ends. It doesn't even go into X shaded. It goes straight into X from VE, AE, VEV, AE, all these things. And there's a reason for that. So let me go back to this map right here. I'm going to show you. And hopefully we could show this on the map. These houses are all built up. This is actually called, let's see, am I in High Point? We're in the High Point area right now. And let me see, can I rotate this somehow? There we go. I want to show you how these properties are built up. And that's why it goes straight from a flood zone. So you can see that these huge retaining walls and everything. So you literally have AE right here and then it just stops and it's X unshaded. And so that's why a lot of these properties when we're talking about Gulf Breeze are kind of like that. And you can see a lot of them are built up a little bit more. Now, not all of them, because I mean, when we're talking about Gulf Breeze, if we go down to the Deer Point area down here, you can see this is all going to be AE flood zone right in here, all these houses. And then you have shaded X and then straight up. So Gulf Breeze isn't as bad as a lot of people might think. And a lot of people think moving into the Pensacola metro area, they're like, oh my gosh, everything's in a flood zone. Not so. It's not like that at all. It just depends on where you want to be. That's why we really like to dive in with you guys. And like I said, here soon, I'm going to show you an easy way that you could check if there's a property that you're interested in. You're like, hey, what kind of flood zone is this? Because FEMA, this is not a user-friendly site at all. But there's something that actually I use all the time. If you guys ever throw a property at me, instead of dealing with all this crap, I just type it in, but I'll show you that here real soon. But here's something that I also wanted to show you too. When we are talking about property insurance, having to get your flood insurance, I'm going to show you my property personally, one of my rental properties that I have out here, because I do not have to carry flood insurance. But if you're looking at the map, you might think, Pete, I mean, from what you're saying, it looked to me like you'd have to carry flood insurance. And you can look through here, the canal property, this is Ville Venice. You can see all this flood zone kind of right in here and then goes into X unshaded. All this portion of Ville Venice is in the AE flood zones right there. But let me show you my rental property, because there's kind of, there's like I said, there's a few different things that I want you to look at. All right, so guys, this map is so, it needs some help for sure. Maybe they could doge it up or something. I don't know. Let's see, get some of those smart guys in here. All right, so bird's eye, come on, there we go. So let's go in a little bit further. Okay, so bird's eye, so I'm gonna track this down to find my property. So my rental property is right here. And you see how AE is literally right there? But I don't have to carry flood insurance. The reason for that is because the property itself is outside of that flood zone. So it's X shaded and my insurance does not require me to carry flood insurance. This property right here, I believe we pay right around $2,900 per year for insurance on this property right here, which again, like I said, you guys are always thinking that property insurances are crazy expensive out here. If you're in flood zones, heck yeah, it's going to be crazy expensive for sure on all these areas right here. But outside of that, guys, I mean, you can still get reasonable insurance. For example, like I pay more for insurance in Colorado and then also a property that we have in Missouri than I do for our properties here. So it just depends on where we are, and that's why we need to make sure that we do dive in when we are talking about this. Okay, so one easy way, and okay, let me figure out how to segue this on how to figure out whether or not a property is within a flood zone. Okay, you know, so I already had one pulled up. Let me pull this one up, and let's see if we can figure out. So this one right here, I just looked it up in Milton. I was just kind of actually looking at it for another client. An easy way to do it is you can see I'm at realtor.com. If you type in the address, it'll pull up the property right here. One good way to do it though is you go down here to environmental risk. But look at this, it says flood factor severe. That's gonna freak some people out. They're gonna look at that and be like, oh no, I don't wanna live here, you know, it's severe flooding. Here's what you wanna do. Click on that. And when we click on that, FEMA rating right there. Property is located in FEMA zone, zone X shaded. And so it says it's an 8 severe, but insurance is still going to look at that like, yeah, but it's zone X shaded. So again, I'm not going to say what your insurance company will say based off of this, but don't always go off of this number. Right here, you want to see a zone X or zone X shaded or zone X. That is what you want. But a lot of times you might run into AE or VE. Those are the ones that we got to be a little bit worried about. But like I said, guys, this is an awesome resource on realtor.com that I like to use. Type in the property if you want to check that flood zone. You know, like I said, just click on that environmental risk. If you don't want to do that, just reach out to us if you are looking at moving here or purchasing here, and we'll look it up for you and kind of tell you what flood zones. There's so many clients that they send me over some properties and like, hey, what's this look like? But for the sake of time, if you're sitting at a computer and you want to figure out right then and there what the flood zones are, it's always nice doing that. All right, so this is an improper right here that we were looking at. Next, I want to dive into the different pricing on housing when we are talking about kind of like your waterfront properties. So I actually already set up a search, so you're looking at it right now, kind of comparing the difference in prices with these waterfront properties. Because you would think right off the bat, yeah, okay, being right off of the Gulf of America is going to be the most expensive spot when we're talking about over here on Pensacola Beach. And I mean, you see right away, boom, $3.4 million. It's like, holy crap, you know, it's like, yeah, that's definitely expensive. But with that being said, let's look at this. Let's dive in a little bit deeper. So you got that one at 3.4 million. And here's one thing that I don't like, and I mention this to you guys all the time when you do call us and you want us to set up a search, is I typed in the search right now, waterfront properties. Look what popped up. So this agent, what they're probably trying to type in was water view. They put up waterfront, and so this property popped up, even though it is not a waterfront property. You could just go in right here and see it's across the street from the beach. Yeah, I can see it right there. So it's a water view. It's not even a waterfront property technically. You know what I mean? I mean, they're probably looking at it like, oh yeah, we could definitely call this a waterfront property. I would disagree. As you can see, it's really not. You got two properties that are right in front of it. But you can see, so 3.4 million, that one was 1.4, but it is not directly on the Gulf. And then you go over here, this one's across the way, 2.5. This one's on the backside, so this one's on the Sound, coming in at 3 million right here. And that's actually a pretty nice looking house right there. Okay, cool. So this is out at Pensacola Beach. We're looking at both beach properties, and then also on the sound side. What if we go across the way? Actually, let's go over here. You look at over here in Gulf Breeze proper, on the water, same price points. So you would think that the beach would be more expensive. That's not the case. This one's 3.2 right here. Let's see. So back here, what's this $4 million one? This one's probably right on off the bay. Yeah. So you can see, I mean, even in Gulf Breeze, you can still find those high-priced houses when we're talking about being on the water. Then if we look over here down in the Oriole Beach area, let's see if we can find a good one here. So look, all right, so these ones are off the canals. Look at these. These are under $1 million. So this one is over in Santa Rosa Shores area. This one's 600. This one's 800. So you can see, being on a canal, you're definitely not going to be paying as much when we're talking about the price for your houses, and still be able to have that boat life, right? Where you could be able to take your boat out to the Sound, to the Gulf, all those different things. Same here. This one is technically not in a canal, kind of. It's not like the other ones. But let's see. 1.5. This one's over in Soundside. So this one's on the water, and actually you could get some pretty good houses on the water over in the Soundside area, Woodlawn Beach area. Because see, so we call it Soundside because see, Soundside Drive goes all the way through, and you got a few different properties over here. So this one's 1.1, this one's 2.8, 1.2. So you could still, this is a little bit cheaper of an area when we're talking about being on the water, but it is going to be a little bit further away from everything when we're talking about accessing Pensacola downtown and all that. Let's look at the backside. So remember the Polynesian Isles area I told you about? So you can see this one is actually on the bay, and that one's coming in at 1.9. But let's look at a canal house. So this one's 1.3. And so you can still get up there, and it's on a canal. These Polynesian Isles, I'm not going to lie, is a pretty popular area for people to want to be more on the bay side than the Sound side. So 738, let's check this one out. So it looks like this one's over, okay. Now let's go down to Navarre. Let's see what we got over in Navarre Beach and such. See if Navarre Beach is similar to like Pensacola Beach when we're talking about being on the water. So 7.3. Holy crap, this better be an awesome house. I mean, it's a pretty awesome house, I'm not gonna lie. That's looks like it's a pretty new build. What's this? This is across the street, so same thing, probably just like Waterview. It's not pulling up the right one. Okay, let's see if we find anything down here a little bit more. So this looks like we got some canal ones available up in here. Let's see what we got. So this one's 1.4. This one's not even on the canal. The only one that's on the canal is this one right here at 2.5. So on the canal down in Navarre, same thing. We're looking at $2.5 million. Let's do something different though. Let's check out if we go over to like the East Hill area. So remember when we mentioned that bayou? Let's see if we can find any products over here on the bayou. So this one, I mean, yeah, I mean that's a super awesome house. That's why it's 3.8. This one's 3.4. I actually think I recorded by this one the other day. So that one's pretty cool too. Let's go up here a little bit more. So we actually did a video. This is that park that we always talk about in East Hill, and those new houses they're getting built over here. Let's see if we can find any more properties. So what's this one for 3.3? So you could see, even if you are not directly on the Gulf, you still might be paying a pretty penny to live off the water to be able to have that boat access, to be able to have that waterfront property. Let's go down to where I want to go here. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to Milton because I saw a few things here. So Milton, so same up here. We got this one's at 740. So that one, it still has water access. You have your own boat ramp and everything. That one's at 740, 779. So Milton might be the exception when we're talking about being able to access that water to be able to drop your boat in on. This one's 975. It's got to be, I don't like when they do that. When they actually, yeah, I don't, it's like, just show the house. This is actually the one that I was checking on for the flood zone. This one's actually on a lake. It's not on the water, but let's see if that lake has access into. It looks like, no, I don't think that's, yeah, I don't think, maybe, I mean, potentially. This is like, look at this. This is actually a really nice house for $575. I think it's 3,000 square feet. Yeah, 3,058. This is a great little house that I saw up here. And you can see it was in zone X shaded. So it's outside of that, those flood zones that we really look at. This is an awesome house. Now, another thing that I want to check out is I want to go down to Perdido Key. Let's go down there, travel down there, see what we're looking at when we're talking about buying waterfront properties or those boat accessible properties that you could potentially have. So Perdido Key right there. Let's see what we got. And actually, there's some canals down here in Perdido Key as well, too. But I don't see anything for sale over here. Yeah, we had a few clients move over into here. That's where it's not showing the canals right here. So it's kind of right here. You got some canals right here. And the houses all along right on there. But I'm not seeing. Is there anything in Perdido Key? Nope. It's getting angry at me. So it looks like, let's go a little bit further. That's Alabama. So you can see this little dotted line. That's Alabama. So 2.6. This one's down here. That's a pretty awesome looking house, 1.6. So, I mean, to be on the water, unless we're talking about Milton or potentially within a canal, plan on paying above $1 million, sometimes above $2-3 million, in order to get these properties that are waterfront to be able to park your boat and such. All right, now that we went over all that, I want to go over different areas and where like the closest amenities are. The first thing that I want to check out is Pensacola downtown. So Pensacola downtown is going to be right here off of Palafox. So let's go and zoom in right here. You got the Seville Historic District. This is a great little area right up in here. And actually what we'll do, let's go ahead and drop our little guy in there and walk down Palafox a little bit. Let's see, where am I at? There we go. Make sure I drop in the right spot. Boom. So this is Palafox, your main street that does go downtown Pensacola. Let's just walk down the middle of the street right now. Hopefully we won't get hit by a car. You can see there's some great amenities, great little restaurants up in here. Let's see, what's this? So this is a unit. It's just the garden. Yeah. So this is where they got like some food trucks up in there. We actually have some friends who have a food truck in there. Different food trucks up in there. You got the Ruby Slipper right up over here. But yeah, this is a cool, like little quaint downtown. This is a super cool little area to hang out. We've got our gallery nights that happen the third Thursday of every month, I believe. But this is okay. So I feel like I really can't speak to this because I've never been in New Orleans. But this portion, when we go a little bit further down, reminds me or makes me think about what New Orleans might look like. You know, where it's got the different railing up on top and stuff like that. You can see it up over here too. But it's a cool little downtown, guys. It's the Singer Theater. They have some performances there. Super quaint. If you kind of want to get a little bit more in depth on this Pensacola downtown area, just check out. I'm pretty sure we've done 2 walkthroughs downtown. Some people say I went too fast and I got sick. But this is a cool little downtown, guys. We love it. So we just dropped our little guy at Palafox, Belmont de Villiers, Garden Street. Belmont de Villiers area is actually right up here. So amenities, there's your downtown Pensacola right there. Another spot that we always talk about is 9 Mile Road. Where is 9 Mile Road? We're going to have to go a little further north up here. You can see right there. And this is why we always talk of Beulah. So Beulah, guys, is right here. This is where all that Beulah area is. Let's see, let me double check. Zoom out, yep. So this is all that Beulah area that is getting built up. Why is the Navy Federal not popping? There it is. So there's the Navy Federal. This is that Beulah area, right up in here. This is 9 Mile Road. And this is where there's a ton of restaurants, a ton of shopping, about Goat Lips. I've heard so many things about Goat Lips from so many of you who are visiting the area. A lot of you do love it. So if you're in the area, you want to check out a cool little like hole-in-the-wall bar, great food, Goat Lips is where you want to go. But let's go and drop our guy right here. Home Depot, Lowe's, all those great things. Here, there's something that I wanted to show you though. Let's see if I could find it in here. And 9 Mile Road, it can get a little crazy, guys. I'm not going to lie. The traffic, when we're talking about traffic within the Pensacola area, 9 Mile Road can get a little congested. And so just expect that. So I know it's right next to the sports field. All right, sports complex, bargain, why am I not seeing it? Applebee's, Planet Fitness. You see this Planet Fitness right here? What do we always talk about? What's going on in 9 Mile Road? Costco. So this area right here, let's see, what is this one right here? This is the area where the new Costco is supposed to be going. So there's Planet Fitness. I'm not exactly sure because, of course, they're waiting for it all to get approved first. But this is the area where that new Costco is going to be going, is right up in here. So expect that to be happening. But yeah, this 9 Mile Road, there's all kinds of different things, guys, when we're talking. You got the University of West Florida right up here. And so there's a lot happening right in this area right here. When we're talking about kind of your newer housing, it's going to be more on this north side, like the Scenic Hills, Country Club Estates right up in here. But yeah, there's a lot of newer stuff. Outside of that, if we're talking about newer, majority of it is going to be more in this Beulah area, or then also your Cantonment area right up in here. You can find some newer products, some newer houses. And while we're talking about that, guys, let's go ahead and break into where to find those newer developments. I'm going to do it with you right now on the MLS and figure out where the new developments are really going in, the bubbles. And then make sure you stick around, because for some reason, I'm getting a lot of you who are asking about acreage properties. We're going to do a search through that and figure out where the acreage properties are at and where you can really find them at. Because you can, for the most part, unless we're talking about like downtown Pensacola, or I mean, even proper, you can find some acreage. It just depends on how much you want to pay. So, but let's go ahead and dive into like kind of where the newer housing is going to be. And I already popped it up for us right now. So now you can kind of see. And what I did essentially was I put a minimum built year of 2025. And then that way we could kind of see where the concentration of newer products is going in. And you can kind of look right here. I'll just kind of keep it outside it for a little bit so we can kind of see this. But you can see a majority of the newer products that we're looking at are going to be on this north side when we're talking about Milton, when we're talking about Pace. Look at these numbers right here. And then also the area that I told you about, Beulah area. Look at that, 48. This northern portion of Ferry Pass, you got 39. So a lot of your newer products are going to be more on this north side right here. Like I said, Beulah, look at this. This is all building in. Go a little bit further north of Cantonment, 23, 25, 10. But you can see where it's a little bit more concentrated when we are talking about your newer home products within these areas. Where if we go down here, not so much. And like the majority of this is going to be condos right here. And we're seeing that 11. 15, a few of them maybe going down a little bit further past Warrington. Perdido Key, yeah, not much at all. Majority of it's going to be more of your custom home building, or maybe even some like newer luxury condo type things. Going down to Gulf Breeze, so proper, like nothing. But if we go down the highway more towards Woodlawn Beach, I've actually been looking at a lot of these newer products. Most of them are D.R. Horton. You got 10 down here, 8 too. There's some newer products going in down here. Pretty much nothing down in Navarre right now. A lot of them are like custom home builders. You're doing little onesie twosies or buying up a piece of land. But you can see like this Milton area for sure is just popping like crazy. Look at all these brand new products going in right here. And this would have been more over here in Pace, where Pace in the last 5 years, they put in a lot of newer products built in like the early 2020s, later 2010s. And so a lot of these bubbles have been more over here. You can see where so much more of these newer built products are going to be when we are talking about newer housing. All right, the next thing that I told you guys that I would do is we're going to talk about acreage lots. For some reason, like, so we've been getting a lot of you guys who want like a minimum of an acre moving out here. And so fine, that's cool. Let's go and do a search. And again, these are all going to be active properties currently. And right now it's, what is it, August, end of August of 2025. So of course, if you're a little bit later out or you're watching this video a few months past, these might not be available. But let's look at these acreage lots. And we're going to stick specifically to the Pensacola metro area because that's where you guys are really wanting to be. You're really not wanting to be more on the north side, like in the near J and all these different areas up here. But look at, so even though, like I said, Pensacola downtown, you can still find some acres like 4, 3, 6, 4, 4. This is all within city limits right here, guys. And you can find properties that are larger than an acre. And so then you can see up in this Beulah area, you got 11 up here, 8. Cantonment is going to be right here, not too much. Milton, you got 14 over here in East Milton. Then you've got 4, 6, even down in Gulf Breeze, unincorporated Gulf Breeze. You've even got a few down here. Midway area, Navarre, you've got a couple, not too many. I've been seeing a lot, like when we're talking about like especially Holly by the Sea, majority of those lots are like half-acre lots, so they are going to be smaller than the 1 acre, but you can still find acreage lots. Let's do something fun here though. Let's kind of see what these are going for. So let's just say, all right, so I dived in right here so you can see how when we're a little bit closer to, let's see, downtown, 26380, 216, these are all minimum of an acre, guys, and you're buying them for this much money. And these are houses. This is not land. 415, 275, 2.8 million. Okay, that's a big one in Cordova Park. And then if we go a little bit further north here, 524, 350. I mean, you can still find some acreage lots for pretty cheap around here. This would not be the case when I came back from Denver, Colorado. Denver, Colorado, this is what you're paying for like a lot. There's no house on it, you know? And so it's crazy to see how you can still get some great acreage lots. Cantonment, 499. Then if we go over here into Pace, 557, 275, 574, 70,000 in East Milton. 70, I mean, the house, it's probably not the best of houses. Yeah, looks like it might need to be torn down, but all right, so 990 to 255. You can still find some good acreage lots with, you know, minimum of an acre for less than $500,000, guys. So don't think that just because you want acreage, you're going to be spending over $1 million. That is definitely something that could potentially be available when we are looking at these properties. All right, cool, guys. That was a very long and detailed video. I just wanted to go in and I just wanted to kind of show you all the different areas, different products, what you might be looking for. Describe the waterways a little bit, the flood zones, because we always get that from you guys. You're like, hey, man, the flood zones, I'm worried about this. Is this something that's everywhere in Pensacola? I showed you the map. I showed you that that is not the case. It is not everywhere in Pensacola. You can still find a lot of areas in the Pensacola Metro that are outside of a flood zone, and we do that for you all the time. I showed you the resources to use if you do want to figure out whether or not something is within a flood zone. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I greatly appreciate it. If you do want to purchase real estate here in the Pensacola Metro, I am your top relocation realtor in the area. I focus 100% on you guys. Give me a call or text at that phone number right below. Right there, we always answer. It doesn't matter date or time, but if you're not quite ready to purchase, you're still in discovery mode, make sure you smash that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, notification bell. That way you're notified every single time we put out a brand new video educating you on the area. Until next time, we love you.